Hello my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited for the topic of this video. I was thinking I want to talk about my new little Tower 28 lip softies. But then yesterday I was considering just all the different types of products that are now classifying themselves as a balm, but they look like kind of squeezy tube lip glosses. It's like the new age of lip balm and lip gloss where it's comfortable. It's still shiny, but not sticky. A lot of them tout like good ingredients, peptides, certain kinds of butters. We're once again in makeup walking that line between makeup and skincare sort of, with the idea of them being like a lip treatment, but yet they still do contain color. So I just wanted to chat about the ones that I have and kind of how they stack up. No, wait, that comment was way too casual. I want to actually chart the ones that I have. Yes, I did that. I did this one other time with like tinted moisturizers, but we have a scale. We have thin to thick and we have bold to sheer, and I've sort of mapped out where the ones I'm going to talk about lie. It'll actually make it a lot easier for me to explain everything there. And I am wearing one of them today that I'm going to be talking about. This is the e.l.f. Glow Reviver Melting Lip Balm in Java Chip. I was actually in Target yesterday for the first time in a long time, and I ran across a display of these and I thought, oh, Java chip, that sounds like a kind of ice cream I might like to have. Anyway, it's a nice little cool brown, and I will tell you what's on my face of the day today. I went very lightweight with my base. It's actually this L'Oreal Lumi Le Glow tint in 120 neutral. So I've got that all over. That gives a light glowy coverage, but the way I set things and kind of continue on with the look, even if I'm using something like this, I plan on having pretty good staying power all day. For my concealer, I use the Tarte Shape Tape Blur. I swear there's a hair sitting on my face. I was watching a video where someone was talking about how overstimulated they get with their hair down, and I'm like, yeah, I love the hair back. But Shape Tape Blur, my little concealer stick, I love this. This is in the shade Light. Set the concealer T-zone area with Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder in Fair, and set the rest of the face with Superstay Hybrid Powder Foundation in 128. I'm on a real powder bronzer kick these days, so I use my Maybelline City Bronzer in 300 just around the hairline, little soft contour. My blush is the Say blush from my little trio. I've been testing that, and also my Kosas trio of blushes. This is the one called Sweetie. So it's giving a little soft peachy pink cheek. Gentle highlight with the Morphe. This is called Cloud Light Soft Glow Veil. The shade is Dawn. It's their lightest one, and I love using that in targeted areas. It gives a really gentle, really pretty highlight. Brows are the Morphe Nano Pencil in Java and the Micromanager Gripping Brow Gel. I did Milani eyeshadow primer, and then I also have this new palette from ABH, the Embers palette. Look, yes, it's a little fall 9-pan palette, and I didn't get into the green or the navy today, but I used pretty much everything else, just for a soft brown look. I didn't want to detract too much from the lip products that I'd be showing, but let me know if you want to see more with this palette. It actually reminds me of a collaborative palette they did with Mario years back. And then my suspicions on that were confirmed when somebody posted a picture on Instagram. I saw this side by side with that and I thought, yeah. So I guess ABH felt something like that needed to stay on the market. I did Milani Stay Put Tank Liquid Liner in black across the upper lash line. I did my L'Oreal Lace Shadow Stick in magnetic bronze across the lower lash line. My Catrice mascara, where did it go? Thought I set it out. Pure False Lash Beyond Black, that's on the upper lashes, and e.l.f. Lash Extender on the lower lashes. And like I said, that e.l.f. Java Chip is what's currently on my lips, but we're going to be talking through this and changing it up quite a bit throughout the video. You know what? Actually, we're bringing in the headband. Bringing in the big guns. So again, we're talking squeeze tube lip balms. When I'm talking about how bold or sheer they are, with some of these lines, I'm looking toward the shades that I know should be more colorful and kind of gauging off of that, because there are some where it's like, okay, I know that was supposed to be their nearly clear one or really, really sheer option. But when it comes to some of the more colorful ones, like how much pigment do they really have? And then I do feel like there's a lot that are very similar, and I kind of thought I was going crazy. I was sitting around here yesterday thinking all of these feel the same. And then when I really assessed it, like I'd put one on, really think about how it felt, take it off, immediately put on another one and think, does that really feel similar? And there were a couple instances where things I thought felt a little bit thicker, but as you can see, we have a real chunk here of 4 that are almost identical in the thin and thickness, but just a slight variation in how bold. And another commonality between them all is that I don't feel like any are really uncomfortable. Even my thickest one doesn't feel sticky. So like, remember Lancome Juicy Tubes? They still make those, you know? It's literally a very traditional but rather thick and sticky lip gloss formula squeezing out of a tube. You put it on and you think, the lips almost feel heavy with product. And you know, lip gloss still really has its place because that stuff would probably outlast any of the things I'm talking about today. While these products that I'm featuring today are comfy as all get out, they're not in it for the long haul. You will need to reapply. Some of the more colorful ones may be more prone to hanging around a bit better after some of the shine wears off, but these really aren't staining products. They're trying to be like a tinted lip treatment, and all of them have balm in the name. And another thing I should say, I don't have everything on the market, okay? There are certainly, like, I was browsing through Sephora to see how many other things there were. There's a lot I haven't tried, but this will be an interesting little cross section of this treatment balm gloss landscape that we're in. And I do have 8 different brands to talk about. So what makes most sense to me is actually to start down here talking about the thickest, and you'll notice it's also at the boldest end of my scale. So it's thick and it's got a lot of color, and that is actually the Lano Lips tint. They're calling themselves a tinted lip balm. That's how that got to be featured in this video. Everything has balm in the name. It's funny because I feel like this is the most like treatment-oriented ointment kind of brand, but they're actually doing the most with color in theirs. So I have this in the shade Spice, and I'm going to pop it on for you, and I think you're going to be amazed at the level of pigment. I've talked about this before, but in case you didn't know, wipe off what we got. I will say also, many of these leave my lips feeling better for having had them on. While staying power might not be amazing through eating and drinking and talking and just living life, after having one of these on, like, your lips are left feeling better than if it were just a standard lip gloss or some real long wear product. Like, your lips are going to feel kind of like they've had a treatment. But yeah, Lano Lips Tinted Lip Balm in Spice. A lot of these I use my finger because I just don't like mushing a plastic tip around on my mouth. Look at this. Serious, okay? The most serious color-wise for sure. Yep, it's all downhill from here color-wise. Look at that. And I mean, the thickness, there's a richness. It doesn't feel quite as thick as like just straight up normal Lano Lips 101 ointment. A little thinner than that, but still rich. It still feels like a treatment. It smells lightly sweet, and the color is just extremely opaque. Now, some might say, "Em, that's so colorful and so shiny. Are you worried about it drifting outside your lip line?" And I would say not as much with some things because of the thickness. The thickness is kind of what I think keeps it in place pretty well. If something were this colorful, but it were way down here on the thinness scale, I would be very hesitant to wear it actually, because I think it would be so likely to drift. But let's take this off. Also right up there on the thickness scale is the Balm.com from Glossier. So these also, you know, referring to themselves as a balm. I've tried quite a few of these over the years, and they feel rich. They have kind of that ointment vibe to them, you know, but they're way up here because they have about half as much color payoff, I think, as the Lano Lips tint. Okay, even the colorful ones, just not quite going there as hard. I love my Espresso one. They nail it on scents here. I'll try to remember to talk about scents on everything. Oh, but that's so good. This brownish color. Just look. It's going to give me brown, but there's for sure an element of sheerness, okay? See that? And it feels thick. It feels like it's hanging together. It's honestly probably one of my favorites in terms of the feel because it's just got a little more richness than a lot of things. And actually maybe a little less shine in the Glossier Balm.coms, okay? But really smooth, not sticky whatsoever. Let me try on another shade that I pulled out here for you. This is the Berry. I love the scent of that too. That really takes me back to some very heavily flavored lip balms of the late 90s. See, it's coming out of the tube looking pretty dark, but watch how that shears. That's why it's, you know, halfway up my sheerness scale. I don't know if they still have the cherry one, but I still own it. And that one's kind of on this level, maybe a little bit richer than that. So that's why Balm.com is over here. You're getting a nice richness like Lano Lips. Maybe I wouldn't put it actually quite over here as far as Lano Lips. Maybe I'd center my dot of that one right where the B is. But they're doing great with these at Glossier. And some of them, you know, there's a portion of the line that really doesn't have a lot of color. But as you browse the website and you see those deeper shades, just know, you know, it's going to give you a sheer but definitely noticeable amount of color. We're still in our thick box here. We've got our third thickest one. So it's Persona, and it's kind of, again, in that middle ground between bold and sheer, but definitely a little on the thicker side. So I'm talking about the Persona Day Mask. They recently repackaged these. They look like this. You got Bubble here, which just has the slightest bit of color, but when I'm thinking about how much color do they really offer, I'm more so looking to some of the deeper shades and saying, can these deliver? So like Kiss, for example. Let's pop this on. And this is one lip try on where I think my lips are gonna feel really good afterward. Sheer red, see? You're feeling the thickness, but more of a glossiness, really, compared to the Glossier. A lot more shine, not quite as thick, but still in the thicker family compared to a handful of other ones that are gonna come up here. Let's try on the Pomegranate for you. This would be the deepest. I just think comparisons are so important, you know? Like, what is it to just talk about one? Referencing the whole landscape, I think, is so much more helpful. Look how dark as it squeezes out. It's looking right now every bit as dark as Spice from Lano Lips, but wait. See how it shears out, but you can still tell it's got color? Pretty, really pretty, but very approachable. Even for the amount of shine this has, I'm not scared to wear that level of color. It's still fairly sheer. We're starting to edge this way a little bit toward our pack of extremely similar formulas. We've got Summer Fridays right here, which the way it's differentiating itself from these is that I feel it's just slightly thicker. Summer Fridays is going to be a little thinner than everything I've talked about so far. I got into the Summer Fridays ones when I got a little like multi-pack, and I really enjoyed these. By the way, I don't think I referenced scent of the Persona. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Day Mask purposely does not have scent going on. But Summer Fridays, here's like one of the deeper shades that I have. It's called Brown Sugar. Love the scent on these, by the way. It's soft. It feels kind of luxurious. I'm getting a really sweet scent, but it's not over the top. Again, a little bit thicker than a chunk that I'm going to be explaining in a sec. But see how it still does have some pigment? And this one is on the deeper end of things for Summer Fridays line. Let's also put on like a brighter one too and show you what that gives. Super comfy. There's not going to be anything in this video that feels sticky. This is the one called Poppy. Looking kind of orangey red as it squeezes out, but watch it sheer. It's like this wash of warmth to the lips, but not too strong. See that? But without a doubt, thinner than Persona, thinner than Balm.com, and thinner than Lano Lips, no doubt. Now let's talk about this group here. The good news is there's a couple of drugstore picks in this group, meaning we've got a couple drugstore brands that are doing it really close to the brands Tower 28 and Laneige. On the sheerest end, this is a little questionable for me because I only own one of Hard Candies and I happen to know it's one of the lighter shades in the line. So for right now, I've got it sitting on the sheer end, but maybe if I had a deeper shade, I might throw it down here. But Hard Candy, a little more bold with Tower 28, a little more bold with Laneige, and perhaps the most color payoff in this chunk out of e.l.f. actually, but still very close in what that formula is doing on your lips. And honestly, these all have almost the exact same feel, the same thickness level. They're not thin as like straight up oil. There's a little richness, but over here we're talking rich. Thinner, okay? So let's start with Hard Candy. This is the one that I said was kind of most sheer. The shade I have is pretty sheer. It's called Toasted Coconut. I would assume that the deeper shades would give a little more color payoff, but I really like this. The scent is awesome, smells so good, and it does, you know, show as this light kind of peachy nude. You can see it. Oh, I'm smelling it. But yes, I'm on a thinner level than anything I've put on so far. And I'm gonna continue to feel that way with each passing one now. Now, Tower 28, I love the lip softies. And this isn't really a criticism that some are thinner. I mean, I do appreciate the thickness that I can get in something like this product, but I love a lip softie, absolutely. Here's like my deepest one. This is Tiramisu from the new set. I'm gonna pop on all four in kind of rapid fire mode here. Sheer, extremely comfortable, and the shine also on this grouping of 4 different brands is going to be real similar. Definitely high shine. That's Tiramisu. Next we're going to put on Ice Dolce de Leche, and I love the scents that they do here on these minis. The minis are a great value. Oh, smelling that caramel. This one was really pretty the other day, paired with a lip liner. Caramely nude, so pretty. And a lot of these also are doing like a silicone tip. The Persona, the Hard Candy, e.l.f., Laneige has a special little tip. But considering that I'm kind of a finger swiper, I really kind of like that Tower 28 just keeps it simple like this. This is the Watermelon Kiwi. Scent is divine. Accurate, Definitely changes with each one. Soft pink. Are you picking up on it? The thing about Tower 28 that I've noticed is they are rather buildable, so you put more on, you are going to see a little more color. That's that one. And then lastly, one of their more pigmented ones in the line, in their little 4-pack, is the red Bean Mochi. This is your mauve. There it is, just a swipe. It really like echoes my natural lip color. But look at that. Love. Good feel, good look, good scent. I do own a full-size lip softie. This is the one called Blood Orange Vanilla. And that one can kind of hang with like this one from Summer Fridays. Looks really similar. And the scent on this one is uniquely Blood Orange Vanilla too. Now let's work down to Laneige. I actually received a PR package from Laneige. Yes, I feel so fancy. And they included a bunch of these Glaze Craze tinted lip serums. I guess these technically aren't called balms, but they're their squeeze tube, you know, tinted product. And they have a really interesting tip, like nothing I've ever seen before. Let's talk about raspberry jam here. It's not a straight twist. It's going to unclick and lift. And then you have this like cushiony little boop, boop, boop. It almost does feel good going across the lips. Getting a lightly sweet scent, not overboard. I feel like the most colorful ones in this line might give just a little more color than, say, similar shades from Tower 28. There's that one. Really pretty, really comfortable feel, but still an extremely similar feel to Hard Candy, Tower 28. Now this, you know, it's going to also feel similar to e.l.f. coming up. For a while, I thought, I'm just not discerning enough. You know, I'm just not paying close enough attention because I think everything feels the same. But I believe I was right that 4 actually do have a very similar feel. Let's try on another one of these. I really like this one called Cinnamon Sugar, mauve-y looking shade. You can really see that color coming through here. I have a random gnat joining me for this video. Isn't that lovely? And another thing I've noticed really across the board with these that's a little surprising is how the colors are not streaking across my lips. They're hanging together. And even if they're sheer, they really don't come across streaky. And I think that's cool and rather surprising. I've got a couple shades from this line that are really just light and peach glaze. I was expecting a little bit more out of this one, but it looks like this soft, like peachy pink. I was wearing it the other day. And maybe I could have built it more. It builds a little bit like Tower 28. It's giving a little something. I'll give it to them. Comfy products, but you're gonna pay a little extra for that little squish tip there. It's all right, but it's not necessary for me. Again, with our little lineup of 4 here, we had Hard Candy, we had Tower 28, we just showed Laneige, and then we have e.l.f. And this is the way I stacked them. I happen to own probably a couple of the deeper shades from e.l.f.'s line, and maybe that's why I feel that way about e.l.f. But they give quite a bit of color, like this shade called Yummy Gummy. I mean, it could have gone more sheer than this. They could have made it even more low-key on the color payoff. But I always feel like when I put this on, I get a good berry lip. Smooth. I love that. I love that smell. Oh, that sweetness is so good. Good job, e.l.f. And then I guess we're going to come full circle and end it with the same one we started with. And they do have that kind of like silicone tip. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to just put it on with my finger anyway. I just have a weird thing about the tip of one of these getting all goopy, like stuff coming off the side, and then you're going to twist a cap down and like get goop within the twisties of the cap. I just don't like an oozing, messy experience. I think one time I had used some kind of a Lip Smackers lip gloss, and I must have been like wiping the tip off on the side, not being careful, not knowing to be careful really. And I remember getting into my backpack one day and like stuff was sticking to it within my backpack, and I guess I decided never again. Okay, Java chip. This feels shinier than Espresso from the Balm.com Glossier range. That's another brownish one that I own. And probably a little cooler. Like, this is a legit cool brown gloss, if that's what someone's looking for. Love. And the scent, it's soft. It's not as strongly like coffee as the Espresso Balm.com. But I feel like they're trying. So that, my friends, is my chart and my talk about these kinds of lip products. These squeezy, glossy balms is the heading on my chart. And yeah, it seems like it's a real continually growing facet of our makeup landscape these days, and I would love to hear your take as well. Feel free to bring up any brands in the comments section that I have not discussed. I know Rhode would be a brand that's definitely been really popular with this type of product. I need to try some of their stuff. But yeah, what do you think of these? Are you more of a fan of something like this, or do you prefer a classic lip gloss if you're going for a glossed up look on your lips? What these have going for them, they all feel really good. If I were to pick a favorite, I feel like Tower 28 is doing a very good job over here. Just scent, feel, the look, the way they put out little value sets that let you try everything. Like, I really am into Tower 28 over here. I think e.l.f. is doing an excellent job, but loads of similarities right here with the way they feel on my lips. I personally really enjoy the balm.com, even though they might not give you quite as much shine. The thickness out of those feels really, really nice and almost like cushiony. But yeah, share your opinions in the comments, and I will see you all again very soon. I love you. Bye.